Hello, welcome. Happy Friday. Thank you for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Gumansing. Topping our newscast, Puerto Rico could soon be on its way to financial recovery, and the bill that's going to help that happen is no longer as detrimental to the Virgin Islands, according to local leaders. The PROMESA bill was just passed by the United States House of Representatives with a disputed clause removed from the legislation. News 2's April Knight has more.
The aptly named PROMESA bill passed the U.S. House of Representatives on Thursday, and without the oversight provision dreaded by VI leaders. The bill would allow Puerto Rico to restructure some $72 billion in debt.
This bill offers the ability for the island to restructure 100% of its debt, while the only other option would force Puerto Rico to litigate with creditors and their lawyers in court for years to come.
But it would also subject the Commonwealth to a powerful financial management and oversight board. The other territories, including the Virgin Islands, would have been subject to a similar oversight, if not for a critical amendment.
I'm very happy that the territories are no longer directly tied to this bill. The proposed oversight board's powers are extremely broad. They deprive the government of Puerto Rico of any authority other than that necessary to achieve fiscal stability and not necessarily economic growth.
While the PROMESA bill no longer contains the oversight provision for other territories, Delegate to Congress Stacey Plaskett said neither does it provide for meaningful economic growth. Plaskett said the solution is for another bill, perhaps in the future, that would address that important piece.
Legislation which focuses more on a better equipping Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands and other territories with the mechanisms necessary to grow our own economies rather than imposing Orwellian oversight boards.
Reporting for News 2, I'm April Knight.
Delegate Plaskett thanks her colleagues for helping to push for financial independence for other territories as the federal government tries to get Puerto Rico back on its feet. Senate President Neville James commended his colleagues in the 31st legislature for being all present at the budget overview hearing before the Senate Finance Committee earlier this week. James assures the committee that the budget review will be a thorough process. Last Friday, Governor Mapp submitted a $1.3 billion budget for fiscal year 2017. The Mapp administration also projects a $110 million budget deficit. According to James, the financial team and the Finance Committee will have to work together to implement measures that will bridge the deficit gap. The Committee on Rules and Judiciary, chaired by Senator Kenneth Gittens, met at the Fritz Loett's Legislative Conference Room, St. Croix, to consider a bill creating the VI Comprehensive Crime and Public Health Task Force, a bill requiring health care providers employed by the VI government to accept Medicare and Medicaid, a bill relating to the number of health care boards, and a bill relating to the licensure of physicians. Count on 2 will keep you updated on what was discussed. Now, as we reported on Thursday, the Inspector General has just released his report on an investigation into the government's hiring of a law firm in 2004. That was in connection to the lawsuit over the contamination of St. Croix's South Shore. It seems the Inspector General's report wasn't the first dispute over money between the government and the law firm in question. News 2's April Knight has more.
A recent Inspector General's report says the VI government paid too much money to the law firm that represented the territory in the South Shore contamination lawsuit. According to the report, the firm of attorney John Dima took $17.9 million in fees and expenses out of the $27.9 million settlement without substantiation from the Department of Justice. More than $4 million of that amount is unallowable expenses, according to the report. The Department of Justice was then led by former Attorney General Ivor Stridiron and then by Vincent Frazier. Now the Attorney General's office under AG Claude Walker is currently reviewing the report and has not yet made a decision on whether to go after those monies.
We're looking to see if there are claims that the government of the Virgin Islands may be able to raise in light of what the IG report has detailed. So I'm reviewing the report but I haven't made any decision.
On top of the alleged overpayment and inappropriate withholding of funds, the law firm also insists that the VI still owes it some $10 million, a battle that the government has been fighting even before the release of the Inspector General's report. In fact, ArcLight, the parent company of Limetree that bought the Havenza facility, ultimately had to set aside $10 million in escrow for the law firm so that the sale could go through.
We are going before the arbitrator to decide whether the contractor is entitled to all or any of it. My position is that obviously the contractor is not entitled to any amount.
The arbitration for the $10 million is happening in September of this year. Reporting for News 2, I'm April Knight.
The investigation was ordered by the MAP administration. Count on 2 will keep you updated. For the first time, DP&R and the Small Business Environmental Assistance Program collaborated with the VI SBDC and the SBA to celebrate Small Business Week. Many business leaders, advocates, and champions who have worked to support economic development in the U.S. Virgin Islands were recognized, and officials used the week to educate the business community. Small Business Week was recognized from June 6th until the 10th. 2 workshops were held to educate business owners and managers on environmental compliance, assistance, and federal and local regulatory laws.
The SBA actually is highlighting the importance of small business, making sure we're putting the spotlight on the wonderful work that small businesses are doing and awarding them for that work.
Many use the opportunity to share with local businesses what the SBA is all about.
So as a regional advocate, I cover all 62 counties that are New York, Region 2, all 21 counties that are New Jersey, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Sponsored by the Small Business Environmental Assistance Program, Division of Environmental Protection, VI Small Business Development Center, and hosted by UVI.
There is a team on the ground in the Virgin Islands that's working with small businesses to access capital. The SBA is not a direct lender, so they guarantee the loans, and so it's important for the banks to be a part of the processes. So the U.S. Small Business Administration is responsible for working with small business on, we call them the 3 C's. The first C meaning capital access, so helping business get capital access. The second C meaning contracting with government. And the third C, counseling and training. One of the barriers here is drought, not having enough rain. And so one of my small businesses in St. Thomas, she was able to use an old water reserve to put water on her botanical garden. And just coming up with those creative ideas along the way in Virgin Islands is much of the fabric of what's going on here, but sharing those barriers and making sure that I'm taking that information back to the regulators and to the federal government, so that if there is any technology that exists, if there's anything that we can do to kind of connect the dots for the small business, that's also very important to help them get over those hurdles.
Award ceremonies were held on Thursday at Government House in Christiansted, St. Croix, and on Friday, today at UVI on St. Thomas. The Virgin Islands Small Business Development Center is funded in part through a cooperative agreement with the U.S. Small Business Administration. Will oversees a public memorial service for Muhammad Ali this Friday afternoon in Louisville, Kentucky. Former President Bill Clinton, sportscaster Bryant Gumbel, and comedian Billy Crystal delivered eulogies. Earlier, a funeral procession traveled through Ali's hometown. The greatest was laid to rest in a private ceremony after the procession. Actor Will Smith and former heavyweight champion Lennox Lewis were among the pallbearers. Ali died at the age of 74 a week ago. Keeping our eye on the economy, let's take a look at the stock market watch at the New York Stock Exchange. According to the numbers there, we can see everything down. The Dow 119, NASDAQ 64, S&P 500 19. Coming up on News 2, please be aware the photos you're about to view are graphic. On Monday, the VIPD detective assigned animal cruelty after they received a call from a concerned citizen in regards to 5 emaciated dogs in the bush area near Christiansted town. Details coming up. Welcome back. Well, please note that the photos you're about to view are graphic. Police say on Monday, June 6th, the VIPD detective assigned to animal cruelty received a call from a concerned citizen in regards to 5 emaciated dogs in the bush area near Christiansted town. On Tuesday, the detective, along with the animal control officer at the St. Croix Animal Welfare Center, they were on scene. Here's more.
At the location, the detective observed 5 dogs in the bush area under the trees. All 5 dogs were tied with a collar and a link chain. Each dog was tied to a tree in close proximity, but apart from each other. The dogs appeared emaciated, but alert and able to walk on their own. All 5 dogs appeared to be friendly, but not aggressive. Each dog was evaluated at the scene using a body condition system, and it revealed that all 5 dogs' ribs, lumbar, vertebrae, pelvic bones, and all bony prominences are evident from a distance. Contact was finally made with the owner of the dogs, who admitted being the owner of all 5 dogs and surrendered all 5 dogs to the St. Croix Animal Welfare Shelter. The owner was advised that he could face animal neglect charges for each dog depending on the circumstances of the investigation. If you observe animal neglect or cruelty, you can call the Virgin Islands Police Department detective assigned to the animal cruelty at 340-778-2211 extension 6097, or you can call the St. Croix Animal Shelter at 778-1650.
Meanwhile, the cause of death has not been revealed for the body found on Wednesday on St. Croix. The 911 emergency call center dispatched officers to Green Key, Christiansted at 5:53 p.m. On Wednesday, where the body of a black male was found. Police say the man was found unresponsive near a horse stable. They also say there were no signs of foul play. The body was taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. The medical examiner is performing an autopsy to determine the cause of death. Well, let's take a look at the commencement ceremonies coming up. Here are a few. On June 11th, we have the Raphael O. Wheatley Skills Center at 2 p.m. at CAHS Auditorium. We hold another one June 13th at Antilles School, 5:30 p.m. June 12th is the Day Adult Education, St. Thomas, 1 p.m., CAHS. And then June 15th, Central High School, St. Croix, 2:30. June 16th, St. Croix Educational Complex, 10 a.m., Island Center. June 18th, Ivana, Udorican, 6 p.m. June 19th, CAHS, 5 p.m., UVI. June 21st, we have the Adult Education, 6:30 p.m. Here are some ceremonies planned for the private and parochial schools. We have All Saints Cathedral, which is on June 17th at the church, and Tilly School, June 11th, 5 p.m., Mark C. Marin Center at the school. Church of God of Prophecy at June 10th, at the 7th day, and then we have the 7th-day Adventist, June 12th, 4 p.m. at the BCB Auditorium. And the VIPD reminds all the graduates to keep safety in mind during the celebrations and the graduations and the proms. Meanwhile, the VIPD and the St. John Community Integration Team is taking some time out to teach the basics of bicycle safety with a rodeo coming up. Here's more.
Motor vehicle staff will be present to register your bicycle, give you a bicycle license, bring your bicycle equipment with all its parts, including pedals and brakes. Having our youth involved in the bike rodeo is a plus for the entire community, as bicycle safety is very important in making sure our children are safe. Awards will be distributed to those who bring their bicycles already registered to the event. The bike rodeo is organized by the St. John Community Integration Team, CIT, and the Virgin Islands Police Department. CIT is a volunteer organization that works in conjunction with the Virgin Islands Police Department and recognizing and addressing ways to improve police-community relations. That's the second annual bike rodeo this coming Saturday from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the National Ballpark Field located in Cruise Bay, St. John.
Well, big names when it comes to the underwater world in film will be in the territory. World Oceans Day is a global recognition. It was recognized on June 8th this week every year to raise awareness of the crucial role the sea plays as sources of food, oxygen, and medicine. Here's more on the film festival.
We're very pleased to be presenting our 4th annual Reef Renaissance Film Festival. This year it's going to be back where we started it 3 years ago at Belongo Bay Beach Resort. This year, as always, we have films by the finest underwater film makers in the world. And this year, for the first time, we have something by Howard Hall. When it comes to going under, Howard Hall is the tops. This guy and his wife Michelle are the people who do the IMAX films and the 3D films that you see at the big theaters around the world. Our mission is to recognize and create awareness of the desperate need for protection of our precious oceans and marine resources, to engender inspired stewardship, to serve as a conduit through which many more people may become conservationists, and to provide a platform for both seasoned and emerging filmmakers and media creators to champion sustainability and best practices through film and interactive arts. You can find us on Facebook and reefrenaissance.com.
Very interesting film and great event. Be sure to stick around. We have your News 2 AccuWeather forecast coming up next.